Everyone's always talking about ROM hacking this, ROM hacking that. I just want a grill, for God's sake.
Sync.
Alright everybody, welcome to the first episode of the ROM CUCKS podcast. I'm Kujo, also known as Art, and I'm joined by my good friends RRTL and MiniMacro Sound.
Hey, what's up? How we doing?
Hello.
This is the ROM CUCKS podcast. We
We talk about ROM hacks and other and sundry things, and
we're talking about ROM hacks.
yeah, that's the beautiful thing is this is podcast format, right? We don't have to stick to any true nature kind of sound. Like we're out here doing exactly what we want to do the WXJT.
That's right.
In fact, we don't even have to have a structure at all. Like
but
we're
starting things comfortable. We're starting enough things comfortable for this episode. We're doing something simple, and we're starting off topical because last week there was the hot new Mega Man 7 ROM hack from Proto Rockman 7 EP, Economic Power.
Hey, dude, that's a spoiler.
You spoiled it. Okay, we gotta put.
Everyone's played it by now, though.
Actually, fun fact.
Spoiler
apparently, the actual name or what it says in the credits depends on how you play. Because I saw someone in one server that I'm in. It said expert player.
Really?
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's weird.
Oh, if you're not economic with your power, like if you aren't if you use a bunch of e-tanks and stuff, maybe it changes. That's something really super interesting.
I mean,
you're an expert at economics.
So,
but anyway,
real quick though.
I guess we should say yes, there will be spoilers if you haven't played this hack.
Yeah. For a little bit of background, Pure Sabe is known for his incredibly extensive and very impressive hack, Rockman 4 Minus Infinity.
Minus Infinity is very good.
Yeah.
It's a very good hack. I highly recommend it.
Do play it if you haven't
7EP
already.
is not as crazy as Minus Infinity, but I think
there's still a lot of really
in
cool
the same place.
There's still a lot of really cool shit, I think.
Yeah. I feel like the strengths of any Purasabe hack is that he does what he wants to do, and even if he's not necessarily happy with the results, he still puts out a product that is largely enjoyable and at the very least has some cool stuff going on.
Yeah, he talked at length when he released the hack on Twitter. He talked on Twitter, that is, about how he wasn't satisfied with it, and he was worried people might not like it. But he was he's putting his work down too much.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I guess before we get too spoilery, would you guys recommend this hack to new players?
Certainly. I think that the biggest thing about the hack to watch out for is that it brings new ideas to the table that are sort of remixes of old ideas. Not going into too much detail about the stages or anything, but I think it's, it pulls a lot of things from Mega Man 9, Mega Man 10, stuff that had a lot of potential that never really got used as much as it could have.
I agree. I think that I think this hack is pretty easy. I was able to beat it in a morning on my first time without too much trouble.
I beat it in I want to say 5 to 6 hours. And me,
I watched both of you beat it, didn't I?
Yeah. You know me, I'm very bad at video games, so.
Well, no, we don't know you, Quack, because this is the first episode of the podcast.
Oh, damn, that's right. I haven't established my character yet.
Yeah, we haven't had time to get to know each other, to establish these characters.
Yeah, none of us know each other.
Before we do anything else in regard to talking about the hack or whatever, should we get introductions out of the way? Because I feel like we jumped the gun a little bit on that.
Yeah, I think we did.
Sure.
Why don't you go first?
Me? Oh,
yeah.
I feel so honored.
It was your idea, fucking.
Oh, wonderful. You might know me. I'm kind of smooth talking. I like to talk a lot, and there's a lot of times where I'm trying to talk about something and I just trail off. So if that happens, forgive me. But for the most part, I'm pretty easygoing, and I'm sort of a neutral sort of voice in a lot of this kind of stuff because I try not to be biased, and I'm the grounded one.
Yes, that is definitely what I would describe you as.
I'm RRTL. I do music. I'm unlike Art in that I have no squabbles having biases, which I do towards ROM hacks because I've been playing them for a very long time. way longer than fan games, and in recent years I've been involved in development of some. Like I was on Voyage, I was on Odyssey, stuff like that. And yeah.
I'm MiniMacro Sound. So anyway, let's talk about the hack.
So, I guess what are your guys's? How did you find out about this hack?
Twitter.
You.
For me.
Yes, you.
One of you?
I really, just completely legitimately. You were one day. You're like, "Hey guys, did you know that Proto Man is working on a Mega Man 7 hack that's going to be awesome?" And I said, "No, that brings me great joy in my life." If you know, probably if you're new to me as a person, Mega Man 7, I absolutely love that game.
Yes,
Favorite Mega Man game, absolutely. And I was really overjoyed to hear that there was somebody working on a legitimate, actual, complete hack of the game. And it's a little rougher on the edges, graphically, and that's one of my nitpick points. But the game is enjoyable enough that I didn't care.
Yeah. As for my personal history, I played Minus Infinity many, many years ago for the first time, and I fell absolutely in love with it.
Your life was changed forever.
No, really, honestly. It was so much fun. And I came to be a big fan of Purasabe and his output. Like, you know how he does those New Year hacks every year?
Certainly, yes.
There's like little boss hacks. And those are really fun, despite being really short. And I play those every year on my YouTube channel, if you are subscribed to me. But I found out, I just kind of like saw him posting screenshots of his Mega Man 7 hack on Twitter like years and years ago. I want to say like 2017. And I was like, holy shit, it's like a sequel to Minus Infinity, which is the greatest game ever. I'm so hyped for this. And so it was a very long wait for me, personally. I even, I had dreams about it coming out several times on multiple occasions. It was like a recurring dream that I had for a while, but it was this hack coming out. I was really excited for it. And he announced the release date 2 weeks ahead of time, I think, on Twitter. And I was like, holy shit, this is fucking it. Finally, my wait is over. And I played it, and it was very, it was cathartic, in a way. Because it's like the release of that fucking feeling of waiting.
Yes, we all love a long wait and then some sudden release.
Yeah.
But I think that, Quack, do you have anything else to say about the hack before we actually talk about, its content?
I follow Pure Sabe on Twitter.
I do too.
That's the entire story, and
he follows me back.
He follows everyone back. But
I should follow him then.
But anyway, he was posting stuff, and I was like, man, this looks sick. And that's about it. It just kind of existed in my brain for a while until it was released on Halloween.
That shit lived rent free.
Hell yeah.
In our fucking heads. But anyway,
we should probably actually talk about what's in the hack now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, certainly. Okay, let's just start sort of talking about the Robot Masters, right?
Okay.
First thing that jumped out at me.
How many times have you guys played through this hack? At
Once.
the time of recording this,
Once.
I've played through it several times.
Okay.
Of course you have.
And
you're a resident expert.
I've got my ideal boss order pinned down. I've been fucking labbing it all week.
Like me with fighting games, I mean.
Yeah,
Seriously.
exactly. I'm fucking coming up with strategies and shit, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I guess you guys can go first, since you have more first impressions about it.
I was going to say the immediate first thing that jumped out to me about this hack was how in a lot of stages they swapped around a bunch of the assets, and
yes,
it's kind of confusing when you first jump in. You boot up Freeze Man, and you think to yourself, "Wait, why am I in Cloud Man?"
That's right.
state?
You went to Freeze Man first. I went to Spring Man first, and Spring Man stage uses level assets from Freeze Man and music from Cloud Man. So I was really confused. I was like, "Is this? Did I pick the right stage here?"
Yeah, exactly. It's like stepping into a randomizer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except it's not random at all.
No.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the Robot Masters in this hack for like just to give
Sure.
a quick intro. So we're all masters in this hack. We got Freeze Man, who's a prototype robot for pollution-free energy. He's always trying to invent a cool appearance pose. His
sounded
quote
like a
is,
fucking wiki
"This
right
is
now,
what
Frank."
cool means." His good point is he's a perfectionist. His bad point is he's gaudy. He likes mystery novels, and his dislike is pollution. This joke is dead, but basically, it's just the Mega Man 7 Robot Masters.
Yeah, it's as
Well,
far
see-
as I know, the story is pretty similar. Since it's in Japanese and I can't read it that well.
The fact that you can read it all is impressive, but
Yeah, like
a
that
better
applies
joke
to
there-
neither of us.
A better joke there, Teal or Quack, would have been that you were actually supposed to read the Flashman bio, because in this hack, Freezeman's actually takes a lot from Flashman.
Oh yeah, that's
He
right.
does. That's true.
I forgot about
walks
that.
around.
His room has
and
the
he-
same layout.
same layout, and he freezes you, but he has a different shot pattern. And I feel like this takes a lot. It's a lot better than Flashman's boss fight to me, because if you look at it, it's more of a positioning challenge, because he's going to freeze you at some point.
Right.
But in Flashman, it's always either I'm jumping in the correct position or I'm not. And in this case, it's more like, oh, he has a spread shot that works like this, so I need to keep that path in mind.
Yeah, it's a lot
So
more
it's
tricky.
it's more advanced,
And also, it's just more fun
skill.
because you have a better complement of weapons to deal with it.
That's true.
The weapons
I did
in-
go to him first.
The weapons in
so-
this hack are
But I
fantastic.
guess, but we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Are we?
Yeah, I went to him first, so I just wanted to talk about him like that.
Yeah.
But I
It's
did
funny
wind
because
up
in
fighting-
my improved boss order, Freezeman is last.
Ha! Of course. I mean, his stage is pretty bad, so I understand.
Yeah. But you'll notice there are some subtle elements of wordplay in how the bosses are changed, because we got Freezeman freezing time like Flashman, and in Springman stage, his the Freezeman assets that make up Springman stage are changed to be like a hot spring. So it's
I
like
get it.
Springman in a hot spring, and it's funny.
I gotta be honest, I didn't even catch the Freeze Man freezing time.
Yeah, I didn't catch it until C Sketch pointed it out to me.
Yeah, I noticed that immediately. It was super cool. But something we should get the elephant out of the room. Shademan.
Shademan?
Shademan.
What about him?
Great stage, terrible mini boss, but the boss itself, that's Gucci Gaming.
The boss itself is Gradius.
It's Gradius.
And that made I was very, very giddy my first time playing that, because one thing you gotta know about me is that I love shmups. I'm all
Yeah.
about that genre, and so is Putasabe from all the fucking Gradius references he puts in his hacks.
Wait, is Shade Man a
Like,
Gradius
Minus
reference?
Infinity was full of that stuff, and so is this.
I didn't even
I didn't
realize
notice
it was
this the
a
first time.
reference.
Yeah, I didn't notice it the first time I fought Shademan, since I went in there with Freezeman's weapon, and
That's
I
right.
sort of spammed it, didn't really know what I was doing, but I destroyed all those options immediately, and you're like, look, it's Gradius, and I didn't see it at first. And then I fought him in the refights, and I was thinking to myself, wow, this is Gradius.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I see now. I just like the
I-
part where you can
Well,
use...
on my first playthrough, I made a point to fight all the bosses with the Buster only, because the bosses in Putasabe's hacks are what I look forward to the most, because they're always like the craziest part.
They are certainly cool. What were you saying, Quack?
I like the technique of killing Shade Man using self-burning.
Yeah, we'll talk about self-burning.
Cool.
Oh boy, self-burning.
Self-burning is like its own segment entirely.
Yeah.
Self-immolation.
But again, like the bosses are like Putasabe's really known for like being super crazy with his like hacks, like not hard, but just like crazy, like really just fast and insane. And Springman is a good example of that. Like as soon as the fight starts, he like assaults you with this fucking like bouncing, insane coil thing that has never been seen before.
And
And then he does exclusively that.
Well, no. He also gets the Magma Man element. The spring coil. In order to dodge it properly, you have to alternate between jumping up and down, right? And that's exactly what Magma Man does. A lot of the bosses
yeah.
in this game.
That
take
was a
things
reference
from
I
other-
honestly didn't catch.
I caught it when I was in my refights, because that's when I fought him.
That's right.
Seriously, but that's something I was talking about, where he takes things from things like 9, 10, 6, all of the Mega Man games that sort of had great games, but lacking in certain respects, and he puts these homages in, and they are really good.
Yeah.
Like they're not in your face about it. The Freeze Man boss fight, definitely in your face about it, but it's done in such a way that you might not notice your first time, and it's done in a way that's pretty clever. And I immediately noticed the Magma Man boss fight room. I immediately noticed the there's one other boss that did that, but I can't remember what it was. But you know, it's a creative retelling.
Yeah. Like Slash Man takes after Burner Man.
Right, Burner Man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Except like actually reasonable.
Right.
Yeah. I gotta say, I think Slash Man was like my second favorite fight in the entire hack.
I enjoy Slash Man a lot. I go to him first.
My first favorite.
On the subject of boss fights, Proto Man, that caught me off guard.
Proto Man's fight was awesome. I loved it.
Proto Man was amazing.
Because Proto Man, his gimmick in this hack is he uses all the different X Busters.
All of them.
He starts the fight off counting up from 1, and then he goes to 2 and 3 and 4. But after that, he just cycles through them at random, and it's a lot of fun.
And
he also uses this Mega Man X6 Giga attack for the Shadow Armor, and it's not limited just to the Buster.
That's right. Yeah.
He also just kind of warps around.
Yeah. He has this cool fucking teleport effect. It's really awesome looking, and he throws his shield at you, which you get the shield when you beat him, and you can throw it. And Jupy Hornet is a stupid idiot because he says it's not useful at the beginning of the game, and it totally is.
I thought he said it was useful.
He said it was only useful in the end game.
Oh. I mean, I didn't use it at all, so.
He also said Slash Man's weapon isn't useful at all, which is a complete fucking lie.
Bro,
it cuts through everything.
Dude, it cuts through everything. You're fucking Strider.
You can literally crit Junkman with it.
And he dies in 1 hit.
One hit, yeah.
Well, you could get critical hits on all the bosses, but Junkman is the one who's weak to it.
The cool thing about Slash Man's weapon to me is that, like a lot of other Purisabe weapons, it has the refire mechanic, where if you press the button again, it will interrupt any projectiles on screen and respawn the projectile.
Yeah.
But because it's a hit scan weapon, it's hit scan directly in front of you, you don't have a projectile to refire. It's not like you're losing damage by refiring. You're
exactly.
Just constantly compounding damage.
Yeah.
Again, it's Strider Hear You.
And I mean, because
you're playing Strider 2 when you fucking come up to a mini boss with Slash Man's weapon. It's so much fun.
I mean, and because it compounds damage, because it combos, you can just destroy everything.
It absorbs
instantly.
projectiles.
And you
can literally just get up in anything's face, and they're just powerless.
And you get 28 uses of it, which is a lot. Actually, that reminds me.
It's a lot, especially considering that you get weapon energy basically in every single part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
This game is extremely generous with power-ups,
yeah.
which is a big factor in why
it gives
how
you
accessible it is.
A giant health refill, a giant weapon refill, an E-tank and a W-tank in every boss corridor.
Yeah, it's a little much, honestly.
I mean, I don't mind.
I don't really mind it, but it's still kind of I would have liked a little. It feels kind of patronizing almost.
Well, there were many times in the game where I would get done with the stage having used 4 or 5 E-tanks inside, and then I start the next stage and I have completely filled up resources again, and I never went to the shop to buy anything like that.
Yeah.
So I would always start a stage and I would be confused and I'd be like, why do I have 5 billion E-tanks?
Well, another reason you don't use the shop that often is because this game is very weird with screws.
Because it just kind of gives you them after every boss.
You only get screws after bosses and some select few enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Red Joes give you screws. Essentially, the more difficult enemies and mini bosses give you screws.
We'll talk about Red Joe.
Yeah.
Red Joe, Emissary of Hell.
Red Joe, the Emissary of Hell, is what I've taken to calling him.
Before we do, can we talk about some of the change gameplay mechanics? Real fast?
Yeah, because they're pretty nebulous.
Let's talk about the overheal mechanic real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really like that one.
It is really cool.
That's a really good... So for anyone who doesn't know, what we're talking about is basically you can have what is effectively a second health bar. This applies to health and weapon energy. So if you get... if you get more energy than you... if your health bar is full and you get more energy, then it just adds, even more. It's like a second health bar that slowly decreases.
Yeah, and it's the reason they give you those power-ups before bosses,
Mm-hmm.
so you can have like something to fall back on.
Yeah.
The game directly rewards you getting to the boss with full health so that you can have essentially a second health bar.
Yeah, it's useful, very much. And again, the same goes for weapon energy. So if you could kill a boss fast enough with Slash Claw, then you basically don't lose any weapon energy for doing it.
It's
For
very
spamming.
good.
Which helps because Purasabe weapons are always incredibly spammable.
Yeah, and especially in this hack, because like with Scrap Flood, like you can just like, kind of like hold the button, right,
Yeah.
to just keep using it. And it's pretty
Yeah.
whack.
Let's talk about weapons just in general now that we
We can
sort of...
talk about weapons. On my first playthrough, I went to Burst Man pretty early on. I believe I went to him second, and his weapon carried me through the entire game.
Danger Rep. Wait, what's it called? Is it?
It was a 3-point burst, I think.
Yeah, 3-point burst is
Super
really good.
fucking awesome. In subsequent playthroughs, I was relying on it less because I wanted to kind of, because I wanted to keep it varied.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's very good for first-time players.
I think what carried me through most of the game was probably the plasma, because it multi-hits, you can spam it, it doesn't have the refire mechanic where it gets rid of the previous spams, and the plasma buster effect that it has from X4 is super useful for pretty much any mini boss, especially things like Mad Grinder and whatnot, and I was able to just
It's
throw
like
it
the
out,
Flash Bomb from Mega Man 8.
except even more powerful.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, that's the thing about this hack in Minus Infinity, is that there's a lot of overwhelming stuff in it, but it gives you a lot of workarounds for that. Like, that's what we're talking about with, like, the health power-ups being so frequent and the weapons being so crazy overpowered and stuff.
I think it's worth noting that the hack's difficulty severely drops off when you get yourself a weapon.
Yes.
Because, like we mentioned, most of them are spammable. I went to Freeze Man first, like I said, and his is the only non-spammable weapon in the game. It has a very low ammo cost, and I actually really like that. Or, like, a low ammo pool. I really like that because it gives you a lot of situations where you have to decide when to use it and when it's just going to be a convenience factor. Very much strategy. I enjoyed that in games a lot, is when you get a weapon that's super powerful and super ubiquitous, but you're limited by how many different times you can use it.
Mm-hmm. And, like, again, saying the difficulty drops off as soon as you get a weapon, Minus Infinity is exactly the same way. Because, like, Purasabe's balancing mentality is, like, achieve balance by making everything overpowered.
Exactly.
Which I enjoy.
However, Minus Infinity is still ridiculously hard anyway.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that a lot of Minus Infinity's difficulty comes from instant kill gimmicks. Like,
and there's none of those
gimmicks
in this hack.
Yeah, there's very few situations where I felt
Even
like I was being unfairly treated.
Bottomless pits are
Bottomless
a complete
pits, you
non-issue.
always have beat.
You have beat. Beat is really
Let's talk
powerful.
about beat for a second. It's essentially like
Beat
the
is a
trampoline
badass.
from. It's like the trampoline from 4 Minus Infinity, where you bounce out of pits as long as you have the health. But if you have beat calls, he will pull you out of pits and not consume any of your health.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, beat calls are just you get this many uses before I start draining your health, and I think that's super proactive.
And the
And
thing
also,
is,
one beat call lasts a really long time, so you can go a lot of screens just with beat.
I've played through this hack several times now. I've never once ran out of those beat calls.
Yeah, neither have I.
Not once.
I
And
have
also, you
several
start
times.
off with beat as a weapon. I guess
Yes.
we should talk about the starting items.
I think we should, while we're still sort of talking about Robot Master weapons, before we get anywhere, we should talk about self-burning. Absolute chat.
We do need to talk
Here we
about
go.
self-burning.
Self-burning time. Turbo Man is one of the more memorable fights in this hack, I'd say, because
I saw him, and I
instead of the
immediately
scorch
thought,
wheel, he just fucking sets himself on fire and
and
rams
he
into
takes, he does a lot of contact damage from it too. But when I saw that boss fight, I immediately thought, oh shit, it's Kamen Rider from CX.
you. It's the fight with Kamen Rider from CX, except it's just one screen, and it's not
It's
not a
kinda
wide
wide.
arena.
It's kind of wide.
Well, it's open, but it's not but it's still a one-screen arena. It's not multiple screens.
It's more like Jetman from Unlimited, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's a lot more like Jetman. But his weapon is self-burning, which the weapon is you set yourself on fire. And it's fucking awesome.
Everything you run into
dies.
You take 0 contact damage, and the only weakness of the weapon is that it has an ammo cost on startup, and you stop using it if you get hit by a projectile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just turn the weapon on, costs a little bit of energy, and you maintain it through screen transitions.
It lights the oil on fire too in one of the stages.
It lights all water on fire.
It lights water on fire?
Yeah, which brings us to Shade Man's boss fight and how you can turn on self-burning and just stand in the water in his boss room and damage him.
Yep.
Which
I
is
think
incredible.
I went to Turbo Man second to last, so I didn't get self-burning very early.
Yeah, neither did I, which
And
is sad.
since self-burning is immune to lava, it completely breaks Junkman's stage,
That's also
which
true.
is all about lava.
I guess I know where I'm going first next.
Yeah. Well, actually, Turbo Man is not a great spot for first,
Yeah.
since his boss fight is one of the harder ones.
I would go to Burst Man and then Turbo Man, because Burst Man's weapon
Listen,
is good against
I'm
Turbo
not
Man.
weak. I can always take on. a
Well,
hard
it's
boss
possible, yeah, but it's just...
I mean, Turbo Man's
that stage is definitely more fun with weapons.
fight. It's, again, I guess it's now time to talk about starter utilities, because this gives us perfect segue into beat. And
Beat?
how beat not only
Yeah.
functions as a beat call, but it also functions as a weapon, just like in 5, except more powerful.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was looking this up, and on the cutting room floor page for Mega Man 7, apparently there was a cut beat weapon, which is theorized to have functioned the same way. So I wonder if that's where Purasabe got the idea.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Something we completely forgot to mention. Bosses in this game have double health bars. You do essentially half a tick of damage to them, which is signified by a flickering bar on the health bar. And part of the reason I like using Beat so much, especially early game, is because he's such a crutch for if you can't really beat a boss. Because he always does 1 damage to the boss no matter what.
Yeah.
And he auto-homes in. He does basically, like you go up to him, and you're like, Beat, I need to take out this Robot Master. So he takes out the Robot Master, does your trash, does your dishes for you, then takes your son out to the playground, and this man cares about your family.
Pete's fucking got your back. He's your wingman. He fucking drives you to prom.
He's the best wingman ever.
I
But
get it,
anyway.
because he's a bird, and he has wings.
I don't get it.
Okay.
Anyway, as for other starting items, Rush is treated very interestingly in this hack.
Rush is great.
Because
Rush feels bad.
the first
Rush feels
item you
bad.
get from him is Rush Field, which allows you to pass through enemies. I haven't really used it that much.
I didn't
He
use it at
absorbs all projectiles in
Yes.
its radius.
It's very cool looking, but it's not very useful.
I think it's probably most useful in bosses because you can still attack while using it, right?
Yeah.
And in theory, it would essentially create a safe spot inside of a projectile-heavy boss room, especially something like Shade Man. I haven't tested this, but I would imagine
I
it would be
wonder
useful
if that would work.
for something like Shade Man.
Yeah.
Because Shade Man never attacks you with contact damage. He always shoots you with lasers and whatnot.
There's also Eddie, which I didn't use him once.
Eddie is the rush search of this game, and I tried using him before a boss room until Teal promptly told me, don't do that, just walk through the door. And I realized, oh, hey, there's a bunch of health and ammo inside here, and as well as E-tanks. And
Yeah.
so after knowing that, I just stopped using him,
Yeah.
because he's not super
Eddie-
useful.
Rush Search in Minus Infinity was useful because he always dug up big power-ups. Eddie only
no, he didn't.
Eddie only drops tiny ones.
No, Rush sometimes dropped tiny ones.
I don't think he does.
I could always fact-check that later, but...
Yeah. But and also Minus Infinity wasn't as generous with power-ups as 7EP is.
It certainly didn't give you full heals and double
Right,
tanks
exactly.
every time you go into
I mean,
a
if you
boss
played it on easy mode, which because
It
Minus
has an
Infinity,
easy mode?
yeah, Minus Infinity has difficulty settings. If you play on easy
Huh.
mode, it increases drop rates very much, and so power-ups become much more frequent. But either way, and Eddie only drops like little weapon energy and little health. I don't think I ever got him to drop an E-tank.
I've gotten him to drop an E-tank and some big health before.
Okay, well, But either way, Eddie is not as useful for those reasons.
I didn't use Eddie a single time in this hack.
Yeah, me neither.
Eddie is a good friend. Eddie's the kind of guy, like, you go out and you see Eddie and you're thinking, yeah, this guy seems pretty cool. Like, he's the awkward, guy in the back of the class.
He's the awkward guy who's like, he's happy that he's like riding with the boys. He's happy to like be involved, but it's like he's kind of like
he's never a core part of the friend group. He's always doing favors for you. But what the real chat of this hack, Otto.
The real chat of this hack. Let's talk about Otto.
Otto is a badass.
Otto fucking pulls up in his fucking badass truck. Like this is the truck that he gets all his bitches in. He like pulls up to the club in this fucking truck, and
it's
all
big enough
the
to hold
robot
all the
ladies
bitches
are
too.
like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Otto gets mad pussy.
And then bit of spoilers for the final level of the game, but all of the robot helpers show up and they start fucking up the enemies on the supply line. And then Otto comes out here and he's just nuking them with his rocket launcher, and he's just attacking
He has a rocket
them with
launcher. He fucking jumps on enemies like fucking Mario,
and he starts whacking them with his fan and like.
and he shoots a
I don't
fucking
think
laser.
I don't think he has the rocket launcher in this hack, but
No, I don't think he does.
he's bouncing around. He's attacking with his fan like he tried to do in Mega Man 7. Unfortunately, his only weakness is his range. But if his feet weren't glued to the floor in 7, I'm pretty sure he would have cut Mega Man in half with that fan.
Well, that's the thing. Like, all of Otto's attacks in that segment are done with, like, vanilla Mega Man 7 sprites.
Exactly.
And that's another thing that's really impressive about Putosabe, is that he has a good eye for, like, alternative uses of sprites.
Certainly.
In a lot of ways. And it's really just, like, fun to see, like, the ways he fucking experiments.
I kind of wish I could read Otto's dialogue because I feel like his dialogue in the shop is very good.
Since we could do fan translations, right? We're like,
yeah. That's the thing.
Putosabe
Putosabe released this hack in Japanese, but he made it very easy to release a translation patch. So if anyone fucking is good enough at Japanese, which I'm not,
and hex editing. But what I would do is, if I were to hex edit this, every single line of dialogue would be the same, still in Japanese, still everything. But Otto's lines, they would all be changed to "Yo, Mega," and nothing else.
I suppose you could fucking like change the text to say whatever you want. I guess you don't have to translate it. I should try that. That'll be really fun.
We could do a playthrough of Teal's hack, and he puts in a bunch of in jokes that nobody but us will understand.
Fucking bass is like, suck my fucking cock, Mega Man. You fucking asshole.
I think it's worth talking about bass right now.
Right now?
Yes.
Well, wait. We should do like a whole like review of the Wiley Castle, I think. Which actually,
All right.
We have a very good segue into that because of Rush. In Wiley Stage 1,
indeed.
The way Wiley Stage 1 works is that there is 4 segments, and each of these segments at the end of them has a rush letter. And once you need these rush letters to progress because rush, the utility you get, will allow you to get through like the final area of the stage. But basically, once you get the rush letters, you get what's it called?
You get the Nova adapter.
Nova adapter, yes. And the Nova adapter is basically like whatever
the Nova adapter
is
rocks.
From X5 that turns you into a plane. It lets you fly with Rush, and it also...
Well, it doesn't let you fly. It gives you an air dash.
Air dash, yeah.
It gives you an invincible air dash. It's more akin to a Giga attack from X4.
Well, it gives you the Nova Strike. Hence the name.
I didn't realize that because I'm
Neither did I. But anyway, yeah, it's one of the most powerful weapons in the game. It obliterates.
Kills things dead, instantly destroys Red Joe, Emissary of Hell.
Hell yeah.
Or it might not instantly, it's 2 shots at max, but it's a great movement utility, and I was a poor soul who saved up enough bolts to buy the 999 blue version of it.
What is that?
And
the ultimate adapter, according to Otto.
The ultimate adapter.
That's one thing I could read.
I didn't actually like that too much. It's essentially just a version of the Nova adapter, but you can
But you can charge it instantly.
Yeah, you can release a half charge shot, and it will be just the same as a fully charged shot. The difference is that because you travel for long enough to charge up a shot during the travel time, you can essentially just get indefinite flight with only short windows of non-invincibility.
There's a lot of chaining dashes together. And the thing is, the real way to get this adapter, again, I mentioned that this game is really stingy with screws, in that you only get them from bosses, you only get them from Red Joe, and from Stegosauruses in the Slashman stage. Stegosauri.
And a few other of the large enemies drop them, but the Stegoruses, as they're known as in the official games, I've found that you can farm them pretty easily in Slashman stage.
Yeah, but the real lucrative bolt place, the place where you get the economic power, is Wiley 2, which there's a lot to unpack in that fucking level. If you've played Minus Infinity, then you remember Cossack Stage 1, which was basically a Gradius reference. It turned into a shmup, and there were enemies in lines that dropped power-ups. This Wiley 2 in 7EP is that concept, but fully realized, pretty much.
Mostly because it's not limited by the technology of the NES. With the SNES, you have so much more free scrolling. It's essentially the same kind of jump that you would make from Gradius 2 to Gradius 3.
Yeah, it's a mini Gradius game, this level is. It has all the fucking references. You get the volcanoes. You get the fucking, rising pillars. You get to fucking destroy the core boss. It's super fun. And depending on how much you get hit in this level, you get a big screw bonus at the end. If you get a rank B, you get 300 screws, which is a lot in this game. But if you get hit too much, you'll only get 100, you'll get a rank C. So that's really the part of the run that matters the most, is getting your fucking shit together in Wiley 2 and not getting hit by anything. Which is hard because there's bullets all over the place. Enemies
and that's where
drop suicide bullets
the
and stuff.
Proto Shield comes in a lot, but I actually, without any grinding or anything, I managed to get up to 970 bolts without grinding and with getting rank C on the Gradius sections. So it's not necessarily...
If you don't do it perfectly, it just means a little extra farming, but still.
So that's Wiley 2.
I think that it's also worth mentioning that every stage has stage transitions between the Wiley stages.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very neat. And also, every Wiley stage has, subtitles that show when
every
you
stage has
enter
a
the
name,
stage.
which is interesting. I believe Wiley 2 was called Dreadnought. But
Wiley 1 is Thorny Maze or something like that.
Yeah.
They're in English, but we don't remember them.
But then Wiley 3 is the Pursuer.
Wiley 3
this stage is interesting.
It's, in my opinion, it's the worst Wiley stage by far.
Certainly.
Basically, actually, since I explained Wiley 1, you'll explain Wiley 2, Art, you explain Wiley 3.
Oh boy, Wiley 3 has some choice words for this one. Wiley 3 is essentially one very long boss fight. You don't actually fight Hanya Dead Squared the entire time, but you do spend a lot of the stage running away from him. It's sort of like a combination of that one Mega Man Scramble game where you're running away from Wiley 3.
Oh yeah, that one.
Oh my god.
It's like that.
I haven't heard of that message in years.
Oh, it's like that combined with the Wiley 2 from Mega Man 11, where there's all those giant Wiley drill things coming through the walls and trying to chase you.
It's almost like Torchman. In a way.
Kind of. But I think that, if you're familiar with Dustman stage in 4MI, you know that large wall that punts you forward if you get hit by it. Mm-hmm. That's essentially what Honey Ned Square has become, and it's lobbing projectiles at you, and you have to navigate this difficult-to-navigate stage. And then, when you get to the end of it, you start actually fighting it. And you start going up this really long tower, and it's got all these platforms that you have to jump across. There's all these power-ups and stuff on the way.
This is a place where beat comes into play very much.
Yeah, if you fall down off the bottom, you could just fly up considerably faster than Honey Ned Squared can.
It even gives
chase.
you... It's even the only stage that has, a beat call item in it.
Yeah.
It's very good. And, it's a very good, power-up. But the stage itself I didn't like very much at all. Especially the final climb section is really long.
Yeah.
But then you fight him after that climb. And
then you destroy him.
And then he dies, and then the stage continues, and then you fight his ghost.
It's really cool.
And you're thinking to yourself, didn't I just kill this guy? And then he's suddenly this, like, mode 7, like, sprite interrupt kind of... I don't know if it's mode 7 or not, but, like, this sprite scanline interrupts going up, and he's all, like, wavy, and, like, he's shooting bombs and stuff at you still, and you're floating midair, falling in free fall, and then after you kill him, it turns out it was all smoke and mirrors.
This is another thing that I like about this hack, is that, like, because in Minus Infinity had a lot of, like, new Fortress bosses. Like, it had the giant Sniper Joe instead of the giant Met, and it had, like, Snatchman, the Mega Man copy robot. But since you know that can't really happen in 720p, because it would be way harder, Proto still does a really good job of, like, remixing the bosses that already exist. Like, in Wiley 1, you fight 2 Gutsman Gs at the same time, and it's really cool. And in Wiley 2, you fight the turtle in the shoot 'em up section, so it's totally different, and it sprouts 3 extra heads, and
it's like
crazy.
Trinex from Zelda.
Yeah, exactly.
It's whack.
And in Wiley 3, you fight the ghost of Hanyaned is the boss instead of the actual one.
And a lot of this is done entirely through palette changing.
Exactly, yeah. It's really impressive.
I want to give a special shout out, in very large air quotes, to the one section in Wiley 3 where it has the fish that you can stand on, like in Mario, but
yeah,
you have to, like, do the chase on that, and I don't like that part.
It's very finicky.
Another place where Beat really shines, because if
it's
you
also
fall
a
in
place
the pit,
where Nova Adapter shines a lot.
Oh, certainly.
I forgot about
if
Nova
you fall in the
Adapter when
pit,
doing that section, because I'm dumb, so...
Well, I mean, if you have the powered up super adapter, then you essentially just fly over the whole thing.
I mean,
right.
yeah.
But
I mean, you don't have it by Wiley 3.
You might. Because of the Wiley 2 bonus.
If you're lucky. I haven't gotten a rank that's better than a B in Wiley 2. I imagine you get a better amount of bolts if you get, like, an A or a triple.
Well, like I said, you get oh, my dogs are going off now. That's wonderful. But when you use the Beat to get across this dolphin pit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You oh wait, I was going to talk about bolts. I'm completely scatterbrained right now. Sorry. Right, so I was able to get most of the bolts I needed by Wiley 2, but I got most of my bolts from the refights as well. Like, I got a few back from there.
You do get a lot of bolts there.
So I think I had about 700 by the time I finished Wiley 2, so it's worth mentioning that if you do the Gradius section right, you could get Nova Adapter pretty easy.
Yeah. I guess that brings us to Wiley 4, which is the refight level.
Can I talk about Wiley 4?
Quack, I think your
Let's all
Discord's fucking up.
Is it?
Let's all talk about Wiley 4.
Okay, we got to do this in sync.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so Wiley 4 is the refight level where it's you fight all the bosses, and it's cool, and it's
There's like
wireframe.
it's like a cool
lot of mode
VR
7.
kind of
It's
themed level.
It feels like it's very much like a computer simulation inside of a Wiley stage.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the idea, because, like, it has
Yeah,
a little...
I think it's implied that the Robot Masters are just holograms.
It has, like, the little screen, like, the little, like, cutscene thingy in between each refight where it has, like, the wireframe
really cool
grid
looking.
around, and you see, like, the, like, holograms of the Robot Masters, and it's very neat. I forget, is that the stage with the mini-boss rush, too?
No. That is the spoilers next Secret Wiley 5.
Well, let's just talk about the Wiley Machine capsule briefly, because I think we're running out of time a little bit. But if we...
Wiley capsule was the hardest part of the game for me. Mostly because it's just hard to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured out at a point where it's doing the coming close to the camera and then going away from the camera, all that stuff. I figured out that self-burning works great, because as long as you dodge the projectiles, you basically are unhittable, and he'll try to, like, ram you and stuff.
I used the Burst Man weapon.
I used Burst Man's weapon as well.
I used it because
But if you use the self-burning, he will just spawn the crystals inside of you, and you just do 3 damage to it every time, and then he stops, like, doing the zoomy stuff, and you can just kill the crystals in about 10 seconds each.
He's a boomer trying to be a zoomer.
It's probably worth mentioning that the second and third phases of the fight have this overflow gimmick, where basically what happens is the Wiley capsule shoots out weapon energy. And it's also worth mentioning that weapon energy also gives you health if you have too much weapon energy.
That's another thing that Minus Infinity did.
But basically, he shoots out like a bunch of weapon capsules, and if you get too many of them, then it will overflow your like second health bar, and then you will be stuck with 0 health and 0 of whatever weapon and 0 weapons. So you can either use an S tank or do no damage
Or you just
until
get fucking killed.
Yeah.
Like a dumbass.
Or you do no damage until he shoots out the energy again.
Yeah. The second phase of the fight is very strange because what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to destroy the gems around him, and that takes you a while to figure out. And each gem is color-coded to be a robot master, and so each of the gems has a weakness.
But like I mentioned, the self-burning does 1 damage to each of them, and it does it continuously. So if you use that, then you basically just are immortal. The only difficult problem is trying to dodge projectiles and then also dodge all of the energy getting thrown at you.
The one thing about that fight that tripped me up the most was because for a while I didn't think there was any way to use your E-tanks.
Yeah.
Because when you open up the pause menu initially,
It has like
you
a
think
weird
you can only
special
scroll
menu.
left and right.
See, this gives me a perfect time to talk about La Mulana, because in La Mulana there is there's a very similar wheel where in order to fast travel to certain locations you have to press up. So it sort of was a lot more intuitive to me.
Well, no, you knew because I told you.
Well, I knew, but I hadn't tried pausing before then.
Right.
But it was more intuitive to me when you mentioned it. I'm like, oh, of course, it's just like La Mulana.
But yeah, the fight was 10 times harder for me my first time because I didn't think there was any way to refill your health. And so I fucking asked Joopy Hornet about how to do the fight right. And I'm like, am I doing something wrong? And he's like, yeah, you just press up. I was like, God damn it.
Well,
actually,
I think this also segues us into the. We talked about it when we mentioned all the buddies helping you with enemy rush, right?
There's one extra thing to mention about the Wiley capsule and the game in particular, and that is that some enemies shoot projectiles that give you status effects.
I was going to talk about that last.
There's 3 different kinds of status effects. There's the burning status effect, which freezes you in place, you can't move, and it does 3 damage. And there's the what was the other one? I know there's
the burning status effect. Burning status effect works basically like the original game. The freezing status effect works like the original game.
And then electric status effect,
on the other hand, reverses your fucking controls.
It's fantastic.
The worst thing ever, and I hate it.
And
reverse controls are probably the worst thing that you could do to a player in any situation.
I was talking to Rockman about this, and he thinks that electricity is the least annoying one.
Really?
Because the other ones just like freeze you in place and you can't move at all.
I mean, yeah.
Okay, but come on, he's Rockman. He has these kinds of opinions.
Well, yeah, Rockman has shitty opinions, but I think this is worth talking about because fucking reverse controls are literally the least fun thing in the universe.
I know one thing that's more unfun, which is reverse controls on top of heavy gravity.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Wait, this doesn't have that though.
I was just saying it's worse though.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
However, the Wiley capsule shoots out projectiles that give you all 3 of these status effects, not at once, but like there's different projectiles. Each one gives you a different status effect. So that's very fun and cool.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, when I thought I couldn't refill my health, it made the fight much more annoying.
And you know what else we haven't mentioned yet is how the free-falling in this game works.
Oh yeah, free-falling
fights. The free-falling...
This is kind of like a new thing that's been showing up in his hacks lately, like his New Year hacks, where you fight a boss in free-fall, and you have full mid-air controls. So
you can jump and you can slide. Basically what it is it's effectively like controlling an invisible platform that you can still jump and slide and move around on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Galaxy Man and Magmal 2, except you could jump and slide still.
Yeah.
It's strange.
Last thing I was going to talk about really was the how after the enemy rush you fight the final boss, which actually I suppose a more accurate statement is that you are the final boss.
Yeah. You fight Base, who doesn't appear anywhere else in the hack, which made me think he wasn't going to be in it. So it's kind of like a fun little dramatic reveal to like drop down the fucking corridor and there he is waiting for you,
So
like a badass.
basically, his whole deal is he shoots a bunch of basically unavoidable high damage projectiles at you, and
Yeah.
But what he
this
doesn't
sounds
know,
bad
what he doesn't know.
because it is, but actually,
So no, because like you see, Base is like actually the hardest boss in like the history of Mega Man, because you can't avoid any of his attacks.
Yeah.
You can't avoid them at
Does
all.
that even make him does that even make him a boss? I don't know, but the thing is, what he doesn't know is that Proto Man, directly before this fight, as well as I think Eddie showed up too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Proto Man and Eddie were just chucking stuff at you. Like they gave you 9 E tanks, they gave you 9 W tanks, but they also gave you infinite lives, infinite E tanks, and infinite W tanks, as well as the ability to automatically use E tanks,
Yeah.
W tanks, and S tanks as soon as like.
So like they
and
get
you
it
essentially
detects when you hit 0 health, and then it automatically refills your health with an E tank.
Or rather, when you hit low health with it uses an E tank, and then it automatically uses a life if the E tank didn't.
It uses an E tank of which you have infinity.
Yes, it just, and then especially if you equip the Nova adapter where it makes you invincible, and I had the blue Nova adapter, the ultimate adapter. So I was
you
just
had a
able to
full-on
stand
fucking
inside.
anime battle.
Yeah, I just stood inside of his hitbox and most of the battle, and he couldn't do anything to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically,
It's-
you can't die. So the challenge is more about having to kill him rather than you not dying.
And he keeps refilling his health bars, and like it's like he's got an E tank, and he keeps increasing his tactics until eventually the fight climaxes where he's literally throwing out so many projectiles.
He's just throwing a
that
tantrum.
He's throwing out so many projectiles
Which
that
is
you
in
literally
character.
cannot approach him, and you just have to shoot at him from afar. And I killed him with the Proto Shield.
Yeah. I find that the Proto Shield is the most fun way to fight him, because like I want to talk about Proto Shield. I really like this weapon a lot. I go to Slashman first in the order, so I get you fight Proto Man in Slashman stage in this hack, so you get the Proto Shield very early on, and it's really fun. It's kind of
It's like Ring Boomerang.
yeah, it's Ring Boomerang from Minus Infinity, but it's like more nuanced, I guess, because it's charge based. I hope I'm not talking too much.
No, just to bounce off what you were saying, it's charge based, but you can't start charging a second one immediately after you launch it, because if you press the button again, it will hold it directly in front of you.
Yeah.
So there's a skill floor in the sense that in order to use it in the first place, you have to know that you have to direct it and be patient enough to start charging after you launch
I
it.
didn't even know
Yeah.
you could. I didn't even know you could hold it. That probably would have made it a lot easier to use.
Yeah.
I didn't use it.
Once
at
you
all.
figure that weapon out, it's a lot of fun to use.
I can imagine. I need to play this again.
It's the kind of thing where, like, you feel stupid for not playing it after you've played it the first time when you're just talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, wow, that was a really good experience. Except for Freeze Man stage, because there's so many projectiles that just freeze you and electrify you. And all
Yeah.
that.
But I hear a lot of people say that the base fight was stupid.
It's funny.
It's funny. Like Jupy Hornet said he really didn't like it. He said it was awful. And it's like I don't know. I think it was fun.
It took way too long for me to beat it, and I was really exhausted by the end of everything, especially after the enemy rush. But I think
See,
it's counterbalanced by
it
the
was-
fact that
Go ahead.
I think it's counterbalanced by the fact that it feels like it's really final. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Putasabe may not make another hack after this, and it's sort of his final farewell of you get to completely obliterate your rival.
Yeah.
I think that like on my first playthrough it felt very long because I was concerned with beating the game. I was concerned with finishing it. And so in subsequent playthroughs, when I knew what was coming and I was focusing on enjoying it, like when you focus on enjoying the fight, it becomes fun. Because again, like Proto Shield, like that's very much like a second playthrough weapon
Yeah.
that like you don't really figure out at first. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going anywhere with this, but
I think it's about time that we really wrap up this whole conversation about this. You know, say
Yeah.
our final thoughts about the game and all that. We've gotten to
Yeah.
a point where it's redundant, and talking about it more would just be, you know, groveling at
Yeah.
his feet. You know,
I think the only extra
want-
thing is just that there's a series of achievements in the game that you can get.
yeah, they don't really matter.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that you can strive for in the game, but especially since I don't speak Japanese and don't know what they're asking of me at the moment without a translation, it's not really in my interest set.
I believe it's touched on in the README. I think it is.
Yeah.
They tell you where the ROM stores the memory.
I think it also has a list of achievements in English.
Yeah, it has a list of the achievements. That's what I meant.
But they're kind of garbled because the English doesn't translate super well. I was looking at them the other day.
Yeah, but I
If
guess
we want to end this here.
Yeah, it is. I think my final thoughts are just that it's definitely a game worth playing. It's not for MI, but it is its own beast, and it's definitely a fun experience all around.
Mm-hmm.
And if you like ROM hacks, it's definitely one of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not super polished in a lot of areas, but there is polish where it counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there are a lot of jokes we could have been made with economic power. I feel like that was a missed opportunity.
I'm completely tapped in terms of that, so can't.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh well.
Can I do the outro?
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the ROM CUCKS podcast. I've been your host, MiniMacro Sound, and
I thought I was the host.
no, I'm the host.
No, I'm the host.
No.
Okay. Fine, whatever. We're all the hosts here. It's a communist relationship between the three of us.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking sexy if you ask me. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.
See you next time. I don't know.
See you next summer. This is probably going to be next week thing. Talk to you all later.